they're all looking like worms, but you can see there is a thin line that separates this hemisphere from that. So this is the vermices that connects the two hemispheres. And what is that long gap? Longitudinal fissure. What about this raised area? Gyrus. What about the depression? Sulcus. Okay. All right. So you see the central sulcus I was talking about is this one. You see that? Only one, that all others they don't really connect. Here it looks like, but this is a reference point you will need to understand your lecture class. That's why I'm just throwing it in there. Not for your lab. It's all there. There's a lot more that we can learn, but we limit ourselves as much as possible. This is the sagittal view. Okay, so this is the sagittal view in which you can see some more structures. Okay. So what we see here, see this oval structure here, see the point you have to understand. Now you are looking at the sheep brain, the sheep head, so it's not like what you have, the plastic one that's more like a human brain, more oval. This is more oblong, like this, right? So here is your stem of the brain, okay? So because our head is like this, their head is like that, so that instead of the stem going like this, it's going like that, right? So this is your thalamus. That's your corpus callosum. Okay. So anything below the thalamus will be hypothalamus. Your epithalamus you don't see because it is taken up by the pine-shaped gland. What is that gland? Pineal gland. Okay. Your pituitary gland should be hanging from here. It's gone. It's not there. What you're seeing there are the other things. If there is any arrow with no number, just ignore them for me, please. Okay. All right. So now this number 20 also, it's called cerebral peduncle. If it's not listed, leave it alone. What is this bump? Pons. The next? Medulla oblongata. This is the beginning of the spinal cord. You see, you will see two bumps and then it goes kind of flat, it becomes narrow. And those of you who remember the central canal in the spinal cord, right? Yeah. You can even see it if you look carefully, you'll see a fine line. So that shows you where the spinal cord starts. But if it is confusing, cut out the spinal cord for our purpose. Okay. Remember the pons, medulla oblongata. And here is your cerebellum. You are looking at the lateral view. Can you see here the tree, the white matter? What do you call the tree of life? Arbor vitae. All right. Then we are going to look at the spaces, the ventricles. Right below the corpus callosum, you see the huge space there? That's your lateral ventricle. One on the right half, one on the left half. So this is your right lateral ventricle. The other half will be left lateral ventricle. So you have two ventricles, right? Totally four. The first and second, when you're in the fetal stage, when it's developing, they call it 1, 2, 3, 4. Then there in the adult brain, they call it lateral ventricle. The first and second became lateral. So where is my third? You have to follow me. You see the numbers, the same number. Can you trace the arrows? Right? So from there, going around the thalamus, between the thalamus, hypothalamus, all of this is your third ventricle. The third ventricle goes here and connects to the fourth ventricle is here. You see the V-shaped cut between your cerebellum and the medulla? That's your fourth ventricle, right? So here is your third. That's your fourth. Connecting that is the passage. What do we call that passage? The aqueduct, the cerebral aqueduct. So you need to logically learn this, how the fluid forms and flows from where to where. Lateral ventricle goes through the third ventricle, cerebral aqueduct, fourth ventricle, and then it gets out into the subarachnoid space to lubricate your brain. Right? Then, if you see these two pictures, can you see something that is missing here that you have? What is missing? Which number is missing? See the picture, tell the story. What number is missing? I'm giving you an easy question. 25. That's not your corpus callosum. 18 is corpus callosum. It's still there. What is missing is this membrane. You can't see the space. So the space is the ventricle. So when the membrane covers that, you cannot see the space. The membrane has a specific name. What's number 25 in your ebook? Septum pellucidum. You see that? Septum pellucidum separates the two ventricles. So it's a thin membrane. It's like a curtain between two windows. So you see this room and that room, you have the glass door. This is one ventricle, that's another ventricle, next room. Your door is your septum pellucidum. Something like that. Okay? So things can go between the two chambers, but sometimes depending on how you cut, in some specimens, you'll see this hole, the space and little bit of the membrane. Unless it's a perfect cut, you won't get like this. You may see something like this here, if it is cut off, right? And you may see partially membrane. So you have to be very careful what is being labeled, what is being asked. Name the space, what will you say? Yeah, in this case, lateral ventricle. Name the membrane, septum pellucidum, okay? So make sure you understand the difference, okay, when you see the specimen. All right. Then we are going to separate the cerebrum and cerebellum apart. Okay, so when you separate them apart, you'll see this structure. When you go there, you'll see it better. Can you see 4 structures? So some students even call this like somebody sitting on